The first big trade of the NFL offseason just officially went down, and for the Eagles, it's hitting rather close to home, as one of their biggest rivals just improved their offense by adding a big-name weapon. And he also happens to have major beef with Philly. But despite this, there is absolutely no reason to worry. So let's break this trade down, including how it affects the Eagles, and also let's go over the latest buzz surrounding Jordan Davis's contract, as well as the latest Eagles updates from the NFL Combine, and also what did Jordan Mailata say about Jalen Hurts? Well, we're going to talk about all that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan, and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And man, it has just been a crazy past couple of days to be an Eagles fan, just from all the talk about Myles Garrett and him potentially being traded to Philly, along with Zach Bond and what his potential future could look like, along with just all the Eagles free agency buzz in general. And then, of course, you got the Combine, which has been going on for the past week now. And now, of course, the first blockbuster trade of the NFL offseason. So again, safe to say it's been an eventful weekend, but let's start back at the Combine, as today's the final day of that, and at this point, we've now watched most of these guys go through all their drills. Of course, the Eagles have continued to meet with a lot of these guys, both formally and informally. And again, there's way too many guys to go over in this one single video, but while all those names will definitely be ones to keep your eyes on as we get closer and closer to the NFL draft, on a much more important note, the Birds have scheduled their first top 30 visit, specifically with offensive tackle Anthony Belton out of NC State. And if you know anything, the Eagles' top 30 visits are always very important, as in recent history, those have been very indicative of who the Eagles could end up drafting. I mean, like I said in my last video, these past 2 years, the Eagles' first 3 picks in each of those 2 drafts were all guys that they had top 30 visits with. So whoever they visit with this year, I'd say has a solid chance of actually being drafted. So you definitely got to look at these seriously. And in regards to Belton specifically, he's a guy who's a projected 4th round pick, and he definitely has a lot of technical growth to do, so he's not some crazy top prospect. However, he has some very impressive physical tools, he's got some huge size, he's got great length, great strength and power, and he just has a nasty and physical play style, all of which are things that are very valuable. And if we know one thing about Jeff Stoutland, it's that he's always going to get the most out of his players, so maybe if the Eagles were to draft Belton, he could add some depth at the tackle position, or best case scenario, be a replacement plan for Lane Johnson in a few years. Now, obviously, we can't get too ahead of ourselves, and right now, Belton's just going to be a name to watch moving forward as someone that the Eagles very realistically could end up drafting. But getting back to the Combine, we also just got some interesting comments from one of the many promising prospects in attendance, specifically being Ole Miss quarterback Jackson Dart, who is one of the top QBs in the class, specifically ranked 3rd behind Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, and he's a projected 2nd round pick. Specifically, Dart was asked who his favorite quarterback is to watch right now, and Eagles fans, I think you're going to like his answer.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of a cop-out because he just won the Super Bowl, but I love Jay Hurts and what he does. I feel like I'm very similar in my play style to him. I feel like we can do a lot of the same things. Obviously he's an elite player and I'm trying to reach that level, but he's been somebody that I've tried to resemble my game after just because of his versatility, being able to run and throw the ball. And just how strong he is in the pocket. I think that's something that I've had a lot of fun watching and observing his play style.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say it's a perfect comparison by any means, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't at least see some similarities. Now, whether Dart pans out like Hurts did obviously remains to be seen, but I honestly just think it's cool hearing one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL draft say this about Hurts, because it just shows you the impact and influence that QB1 has on the game, as well as how other players view him. I mean, sure, fans on social media and also the media can disrespect him and say whatever they want about him, but there is no denying that other players, whether it's in the NFL or at the college level, respect Jalen Hurts tremendously, and whether you like it or not, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the game today, and he's building quite the early Hall of Fame resume, if you ask me. And a huge part of that is just the insane mentality, the work ethic, and the drive to be great that Jalen Hurts has. Plus, it's also very helpful that he stays calm, cool, and collected under pressure and in the biggest moments, which is something that Eagles star left tackle Jordan Mailata is pretty impressed with.
Dude, do I feel good? I feel great. I feel great about the way he played and the way he kind of just kept to his own the whole year. And I went up to him, and even I went up to him at the Super Bowl. I think this is great. So I go up to him after we do the media round, get back in the locker room, it's going crazy, like a little party in there, and I find Jay. I go up to Jay. I was just looking at him, like shaking my head. I was like, what? And I go, man, how do you do it, man? The bigger the moment, the greater your performance. And he looked back at me. He had a cigar in his mouth. He took a breath in, blew out the smoke, and said, "That's what the F I do," and walked off.
There you go.
Oh my God. Hey man, we're in the locker room, man. Come on, you don't have to do me like that, man. Come on, man.
Why is it that Jalen Hurts is always dropping the absolute hardest quotes, bro? Like, it's honestly just insane at this point. In all seriousness now, I mean, can we just appreciate the mentality of Jalen Hurts? Like, he's got it like some of the greats do. I mean, he's got that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady-esque mentality. Now, I'm definitely not saying he's on the same level as them, but again, he has it, whatever it is. I mean, he's obsessed with the game. He's a super hard worker. He's a great leader. Again, he's calm under pressure. He shows up in the biggest moments. He's a proven winner. And most of all, he is just an absolute psycho in how he approaches the game and in his mentality.
I can't lie to you, bro. That last one changed my soul, man.
I don't know about you, but I'm just so excited and also super grateful that we got a guy like that as our quarterback for years to come. And another guy that I hope to have around for a long time is the Birds' new quarterback coach, Scott Loeffler, assuming the hire works out. Just because, you know, it'd be nice to finally have some continuity at that position for once, just with the complete revolving door we've seen of offensive coordinators and QB coaches over the years. Now, I broke down the Loeffler hire and why I think it's a great choice in my last video, but one other benefit that he brings is his connection with one of the NFL draft's top tight end prospects in Harold Fannin Jr., as Loeffler coached Fannin for 3 years when he was the head coach of Bowling Green, so with the Eagles seemingly preparing to draft a tight end at some point during this upcoming NFL draft, Fannin would make a lot of sense as a potential second-round pick. As in addition to the familiarity he has with the QB coach, he's also just a very good prospect in general, as he's a great route runner, he's got good speed, as he ran the 6th fastest 40 time among all tight ends at the combine, plus he's got fantastic run after catch ability, as he led all tight ends in yards after catch and broken tackles in 2024. Also, he has amazing hands, as he only dropped 2 passes in his entire college career on 171 targets. Plus, he's versatile as he can line up in a number of different positions, and despite his smaller frame for a tight end, he's surprisingly a pretty decent blocker. Now again, on the downside, he is on the smaller side, and he also went to a smaller school, but there's pretty good reason to believe that he can overcome those things just with everything that he's got going for him. So I definitely like him, and I think he could be a solid option to snag in the second round. And obviously, the Eagles would then develop him to be the eventual successor for tight end Dallas Goedert. Now, the Eagles haven't met with him yet, but there's still a lot of time before the NFL draft in April, so things could definitely change. So again, I think he should definitely be a guy on the Eagles' radar. However, something that admittedly was not on my radar to happen this weekend was the first big trade of the NFL offseason, as we just saw one of Eagles fans' most hated players go to one of their most hated rivals. Saturday evening, Adam Schefter broke the big news saying, quote, "The first 2025 offseason NFL trade. San Francisco has agreed to send standout wide receiver Deebo Samuel to the Washington Commanders in exchange for a 5th-round pick," sources tell ESPN. Like any trade agreed to now, it cannot be processed until the new league year begins Wednesday, March 12th. Now, obviously, Deebo was expected to be moved at some point this offseason after he'd requested a trade earlier, but nonetheless, this is still crazy huge news, but it's also a move that greatly affects the Eagles, as it's obviously a move made within the division regarding the team that they had just faced in the NFC Championship this year, so we got a lot to break down. And to be fair, I'll start by saying that I do actually think this is a decent to solid move by the Commanders. I mean, Deebo may not be what he once was, but he's still an above-average weapon that brings a lot of versatility, being able to line up all over the field, including at running back, and overall, he does make the Commanders' offense a bit better. Plus, they also got him for good value, as they gave up just a 5th-round pick to acquire him. And for reference, the Cowboys just traded a 4th-rounder for Jonathan Mingo last year, and the Eagles also gave up a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson before the start of this past season. Which, side note, as much as some people may want to crap on that, I think it turned out alright, as Dotson did contribute notably to the Super Bowl run and also in the big game itself. So, shout out to Dotson, but still, Deebo for a 5th-round pick is definitely good value for the Commanders. That said, there are also plenty of drawbacks to this move if you're Washington. I mean, for starters, like I said earlier, Deebo is just not what he once was. I mean, he has put up solid numbers these past 3 years, but he's never been able to really regain that superstar 2021 form where he put up over 1,400 receiving yards, and also, Deebo has been rather injury-prone in recent years, and he has struggled to stay on the field. Plus, I mean, just look at this picture from just weeks ago, right before the Super Bowl, where Deebo was wearing an A.J. Brown jersey. I mean, no offense to him, but he doesn't really look to be in the best shape here. So, I mean, that's certainly not ideal either, especially when the Commanders are now set to take on his entire salary of $17.55 million for the season, which is pretty significant. And honestly, based on what Deebo is likely going to give them, based on all these past 3 years, that's probably an overpay. So again, this is not a perfect move for the Commanders by any means, and I, as an Eagles fan, personally am not scared in the slightest by it. And you know what? On the contrary, I'm actually kind of looking forward to watching Deebo face the Eagles twice next season, just considering their history. I mean, their beef goes all the way back to the 2022-23 NFC Championship game between the Eagles and the Niners, where obviously the Eagles absolutely smoked San Francisco 31-7 en route to a Super Bowl 57 appearance. And afterwards, Deebo just couldn't get over it. I mean, he cried all offseason long, starting with calling James Bradberry trash on some podcast, I think in February, right before the Super Bowl. And then later, you have him saying that the Eagles are his most hated team in the entire league. And he also sat there and made the excuse of, oh, we only had 10 players on the field because of the whole injury to Brock Purdy and all that. And it wasn't just that. I mean, there were more things that he said. And then fast forward to when the Eagles and Niners had a rematch during the 2023 regular season. And Deebo kind of got his get back, I guess you could say, as he went off versus the Eagles with 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards receiving. To be fair, though, that was the start of the Eagles' collapse, and that defense that year was just absolutely horrible. But still, Deebo did back up his trash talk. And then in addition to that, Deebo also has well-documented beef with current Eagle but then Lions safety CJ Gardner Johnson back in 2023, as after an on-field altercation that year, CJ had this to say about him.
Can't run routes. You're a running back. You're a running back. I ain't going to sit here and play with you, little boy. Just because you got a little bag, people gave you a little clout, man, you ain't nothing, bro. Stop playing.
Yeah, so safe to say, there is no shortage of storylines here. I mean, especially with Deebo now joining the Commanders, as the rival between Philly and Washington has really started to heat up, and between the fan bases, especially this past year, just obviously with them both having great seasons, and also meeting in the NFC Championship, where we got some heated and chippy moments. So again, adding Deebo to that equation is only going to make things more entertaining, so I'm definitely looking forward to it, especially since, again, I am really not worried at all, because the Eagles are still the better, more talented team with the better culture, and again, Deebo is not what he once was, and I expect him to get absolutely locked up by Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean when they face each other this year. But now, moving on from that, the Eagles also have a very tough decision coming up regarding one of their more important young players, as on Friday, the official number for defensive tackle Jordan Davis's 5th-year option was revealed, as the price tag sits at $12.9 million. And the Birds have until May 2nd to pick that up or not. Now, I talked all about Davis and his current situation moving forward in my last video, but basically, the situation is that as much as Davis is a very valuable young piece of the Eagles' defensive line and defense in general, especially against the run, you also just can't pay everybody, unfortunately, and with Davis entering the final year of his rookie contract, the Eagles have a big decision to make, as they can either extend him or, like I said, pick up that $12.9 million 5th-year option for the 2026 season, or they could just do nothing and let him play out his contract. Now, personally, I want to keep Davis around as long as possible, but at the end of the day, they got to make the money work. And with everything else that they got to do coming up, it might be tough. So again, Howie's definitely got a big decision to make here. Now, Eagles reporter Elliot Shore-Park says that he thinks the Eagles will pick up JD's 5th-year option. Personally, I'm kind of leaning that way too, but I honestly don't know. So you guys let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What are you expecting the Eagles to do with Jordan Davis? Also, what are your thoughts on the Deebo Samuel trade? Again, just give me all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. And also, while you're at it, make sure you guys subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any more Eagles coverage coming throughout this entire offseason. And also, leave a like below as well, because it really does help me out a ton, and it takes 2 seconds. Let's see if we can get to at least 600 likes today. By the way, you guys killed it on the last video. I think we're over 1,000 likes, so thank you all for that. Let's see if we can do it again. And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can check this one out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.